Welcome in, everybody. It is week 5, day 2 of the LCS Academy. I'm Mad Magical, joined in by the wonderful, the beautiful, it's Rebel Fox right over to my, left, because how the cameras work and all that stuff. But it's good to have you back here, Dean. Are you ready for some more Academy?
Super excited. Yesterday was awesome. We got some amazing games. Got to go back and view what it was that Joshi and Deserux did yesterday, and they were insane as well. So now getting an exciting chance to cover 3 games of our own right, and these 3 best of 2s are bound to be some exciting.
Exactly. I'm really excited to see how we're going to be able to go through this. We are halfway through our summer split, and with the best of 2s, it's definitely had some interesting stats for us. If we hop on over to the Samsung Fast 5 to be able to check a lot of that out, you can see how all the stats have kind of been coalescing here after 5 weeks. A couple of the really interesting ones to me that stand out immediately is Kiel. Even, though CLG have had a really rough split, it's actually one of the fastest level 6s despite that.
Pretty impressive stuff from the young jungler. Same with Armao, who's now pulling double duty within Team Liquid to have that quick of clear speed. You see the reason why he's able to step in so easily. I know behind the scenes we got the introduction that King is able to jump 2 spots. He's been dominating across all things. The thing that caught my eye more than anything else, Diamond with a sub 6-minute transformation on the item. Do you remember about that? I don't remember.
Yep, I remember when that happened. That was all the way back in week 1. It's one of the few stats that you see here that remains consistent throughout it all. He was able to set that in the first day against CLG Academy as well. Diamond on his Thresh. Yeah, there's a reason why that Thresh is banned away so consistently from this player. It's because I think he is, without a doubt, the best Thresh in Academy.
Absolutely. And yesterday, the performance against EGA was really impressive as well. So Diamond has been absolutely making some noise in that position. I'm excited to see him because we're going to get him a little bit later on. And today, I also saw the mid lane, and I was like, man, I wonder if Ryoma is really mad that he's 1 second behind RJS right now, and he's just going to go as hard as he can to try to get that mythic because of the competition. But I don't know if these players are viewing these stats.
Well, we'll see. You never know how these players kind of approach this, especially if we dive into the schedule so we can kind of see who they're facing off against, because for CLG, they are going up against Evil Genius Academy, so there is potential. These are 2 teams that are kind of fighting towards the bottom. CLG, unfortunately, have had one of the rougher summer splits of any of our teams. Well, Evil Geniuses have gotten a consistent 1-1 nearly across the board, only suffering their first 0-2 yesterday.
Yeah, it's a clash of 2 teams. I think EG needs the win desperately because of their loss yesterday. FlyQuest is an incredible team. Bouncing back would be huge to make sure they keep that perfect 1-1 record, at least average it out this week to something like that. And CLG, the talent's there. You can see it in a lot of their games that they have the capability. Their last series against EG was really indicative of that because you saw that first game was so close. It was almost their first 2-0, the only one they would have had for the entire split. Weren't able to close it out at the end, and now since then they've just been going through a number of problems trying to figure out an identity or something that will work for themselves.
And then after that series, we're going to go into the Team Liquid Academy, 100 Thieves Academy. That one should be very hype. 100 Thieves Academy, the last remaining team to have ever not suffered a 0-2 here in Academy. And then we round out the day with Immortals Academy, FlyQuest Academy. We'll be able to dive into those games a little bit more later on, especially that second series. I'm really hyped to see how those are going to be able to kind of fight it out. There are 2 teams towards the top. Would like to be able to see who's going to be able to hold on to that #1 spot. But diving into our first series. The first one you already highlighted a little bit between Evil Geniuses Academy, CLG Academy, and I kind of want to dive a bit more, especially onto the CLG side, because I feel like CLG, they've looked their strongest when Kiel has had Fiddlesticks, and every team has permanently banned it from him since.
It's been a thing where that comfort definitely has made an impact for Kiel when he's inside of those games. Having that Fiddlesticks, having that kind of game plan around what that is, it means a lot for CLG. So taking that away has given them a lack of identity sometimes, where they're going for Rumble has looked good for Kiel and really bad for Kiel. A lot of those champions have done the same thing. And a lot of times they also feel very split. Like you have PN who's doing well on top side of the map, RJS usually farming pretty well. Katsuri Hooks have their on and off games, and they always have they sometimes have these really good early games, sometimes they have really terrible early games. It's the ones where they're always doing well early that tend to be the ones that are competitive through mid game, through late game. And you can see in some of their team fighting when they have the advantage and they're able to go that the playmaking's there definitely for the side of the squad. They just haven't been able to do it consistently. They haven't been able to put together this mid game that's been able to consistently keep foes at bay so that they can get to this stage of the game where they feel the most comfortable.
And speaking of a team that hasn't been necessarily the most consistent, Evil Geniuses Academy. This has been a team that, the thing is, this is a team that on paper you look at and they are strong, and how they play sometimes. Team Luke has looked so impressive in many regards. Jojopion in mid lane as well has been this incredibly fun, flashy player. Contracts, consistent jungler who is, I mean, ever since week 1, been trying to see if he can top his top kills that he's had at 17 on Rumble in the first series. I think it was game 2 that he played this split, but it has yet, obviously to be able to surpass that. But that just shows you that this team can do amazing things, but we keep seeing them go 1-1.
Yeah, it's a question of, okay, are they going 1-1 because they are making mistakes to cost them one game, or are they like pulling out some games? Because you go back to what it was CLG in their first series, it looked like they pulled out one game that they shouldn't have won. And then another series, like you say, you go back to Team Liquid just last week, one of our top teams they got a 2-0 against, they look really convincingly strong. Every single one of these players has their ability, they have their star power, their capability of carrying in their own right. Their team fighting is kind of the one area where they can definitely improve at least a little bit. And putting resources into contracts always seems to work. And you saw not only this week and I know the rest of Academy, but also on the LCS stage for contracts, just how good he can be when he's got those resources in the team playing for him. I think those two dynamics, either splitting them up, letting each of them shine individually, Jojopion would love that because he's just so dominant in the mid lane. But also, if you're playing more for the team fighting style, trying to figure out where it's going to work inside of macro, that's exactly where you fit it into, is trying to get these resources into contracts.
Right, and you even look at the last series last week where they got that 2-0 against Team Liquid. Contracts on Nidalee, contracts on Xin Zhao, and they even had Gwen both times for Tony Top in the top lane. And I, in fact, want to even just talk a little bit more about this top lane player, because Tony is a player who has thrived in so many metas when it's split push oriented. Not necessarily so much when it's tank-oriented, but when he is allowed to stay in a side lane, pretty much have a kingdom in a side lane. You think about his Jax, is the quintessential top champion that he has always played every single time. Regardless of if he's good or not, he'll always still play Jax. Well, now with Hullbreaker, I feel like we haven't seen any players build it because they're not really comfortable with it. But I feel like Tony Top, if any player were to bust it out, it would be him.
We would very much like to see that. I think, especially with his champion pool, where, like, I know he was working on Camille back before he was signed onto the LCS Academy roster. And then you have the Jax, which is there. Fiora has been played, Gwen, Viego, all inside of that champion pool, who are all these champions who do incredible. Obviously, the Hullbreaker not on Gwen. We're not going to see that. This matchup actually is one of my favorites to watch right here, is Tony Top versus Tien during this game. So I think Tien is excruciatingly good for CLG, oftentimes coming out of lane with their own advantage without being able to really apply it to the team because, sometimes the game plan's not working for CLG. But Tony's the exact same way, where like Tony, has good TPs, has good roams, things like that. But like you said, oftentimes is associated with going into a side lane and playing. So this one-on-one and top side could be a really interesting one if we get a nice skill-based matchup, which I can say I'm very much voting for right now because I would love to see some top-tier top lane gameplay.
Well, especially going at Tien. Tien is one of the players for the side of CLG that has looked pretty consistent across the board. Win or loss, it doesn't matter. He's actually been the player that I feel like they could play around so much more if they want to be able to get ahead. Katsuri and Hooks have looked all right, but Tien has always seemed to be that shining light.
Yeah, Tien, like I said, even when he's not receiving resources, when he's on weak side, things like that, always seems to come out pretty much unscathed out of this early and mid game that sometimes goes disastrously, sometimes goes well. You can usually count on Tien having the right amount of CS, doing well, shutting down the opposing top laner, things like that. And the question is CLG comfortable throwing extra resources into Tien, kind of voting for the Tien train to carry them through what is this, sometimes weak, sometimes inconsistent early and mid game that cost them so many of these series back and forth? Or is it that like they need to put it somewhere else? Because like RJS has been capable of doing that late game carrying. That Siri Hooks in team fights, this is a very standard team. They need their ADC to be that backbone of damage. So they just put those resources into Katsuri and leave Tien on their own. That's something they've done before and it's worked on occasion, but not consistently quite yet. I'm waiting to see what it is that CLG is voting on to actually take these games consistently.
As right now we jump into our pick and ban. We already see Lucian Akali to pans right towards Jojopion into that mid lane, knowing that he likes to be able to play for that lane dominant style. But Evil Geniuses, very interesting to see. The Nocturne, we have seen that Nocturne, even with the new Stridebreaker, is quite oppressive. The burst potential he has now is a lot more surprising than people realize. And then Xin Zhao, not too surprising. He has become one of the top tier junglers that we've seen throughout this week.
One of the biggest things I think I'm really going to focus in on this Nocturne pick is that it's spectacular into fighters. That's how it's got its introduction, is by playing against things like Camille and other matchups like that in the top side of the map, even like Aatrox from time to time. And it's since become a really big mainstay inside of both mid and top side. We've seen Tony Top play it, but more so because EG's on red side now. They have their opportunity to get one of these comfort champions, one of these amazing top lane split pushers for Tony Top, and they don't want that safety to be there. Also, notice the Kalista taken off the board. This was good for Katsuri, and you know that engage has been really nice recently.
And look at this. So I find this really interesting. The Kalista being the final ban from Evil Geniuses, they knew Gwen was up. They were okay with the CLG taking that. They had no qualms with giving that open.
Nope.
Just because it's one of these picks that we haven't seen actually have the most success. I mean, players like Tony Top have definitely been able to thrive on it. In fact, I believe last week he played it both times in their victories against Team Liquid Academy. But a lot of other players have been falling away from it. They're not as comfortable playing the champion anymore. They're kind of letting it go. And it's just the trade of new champion for new champion. Viego for Gwen.
That it is. I'm also noticing right now that there's both a Lulu and a Karma available, which has gotten banned in a couple of games, mainly the Karma. And I think it's something that can be flexed around a little bit. We also know that Tony Top's willing to play that because he played it, I believe it was just yesterday or last week that he played H Enchanter in the top lane. This is a guy that stole Baron with a Soraka Star Call, if I recall, back in the day when he was in some of the amateur tournaments, which is hilarious. So you know he knows how to play those, and they're lane dominant. But I personally would be voting for the Viego because I really like him on Viego, and it's that split push you'd normally see up against the Gwen. That matchup is got to be a fun one. It's one of those explosive ones between Tien and Tony Top that we were voting for.
And with this Lulu locked in, I'm trying to remember who it was. But we did actually see on the main channel that a Lulu solo kill did happen, where Lulu was able to get a mid lane Lulu was able to completely win in a 1v1 scenario. And
that was Ryoma.
Yeah, there it is. Thank you. Thank you. I couldn't remember exactly who it was. I just remember watching the game and being like, how did Lulu get a solo kill? Why is this happening? I am totally here for it because as a former Lulu player mid lane, I definitely respect that. But now we see on the other side, we actually get this Kindred locked in for Keel. We've been seeing this as kind of this niche jungler that has started to rise up slowly but surely as the games have dragged out a little bit longer on 11-13. So Keel wanting to be able to pilot this, I wonder if Contracts just decides to go for something like maybe a Gragas or maybe Jojopion onto an Azir, as these champions have generally been picked recently into Kindred to make sure Lamb's Respect is not going to be that useful.
This placement's usually just a fantastic idea into Kindred, not only for like the ultimate, but also just because of the mobility of that champion in general when you're in E or when you're in W, my apologies, and securing those Qs on low cooldowns. That's always really nice. I think also CLG currently have opened themselves up to be able to play something like Ziggs or something like AP on the bottom side. I know Jan's a big fan of that Swain. I don't know that Katsuri's been practicing that, but that's what Kindred brings to this composition. You can play something more melee focused in that mid lane for RJS and a lot more AP if you really want, because you've got Gwen, now you've got a damage backbone and consistent damage coming out of your jungle pick with Keel.
I do believe that, yes, yesterday, we did actually see that Katsuri did play the Ziggs against 100 Thieves. It wasn't to a Jinx Braum bot lane, and unfortunately just wasn't able to really have that staying power to really help out the team. So I wouldn't put it past CLG Academy to still draft that, because like you said, it would really work out for this team composition. And at the moment, they have this really good mid to late game. If they get the Ziggs with it as well, they're going to have an easier time sieging down these turrets.
There's a very low range composition from CLG, so I really like that the Ziggs ban is coming in here, and I'm curious right now whether there are ranged ADCs that are being willing to be played by Katsuri, because you're seeing bot lane focus with Tristana taken off. I think Kai'Sa's the other one that's really comfortable for Team Luke, and I wonder if you can even bust out something like Samira to go into backline if you get that down deep into your pool, because I feel like Team Luke, he's not a bad Ezreal player, but the Ezreal has not looked particularly good for this bottom lane combination. Honestly, I think CLG did them a favor by banning it away. It does open up Kai'Sa if you do want it for Team Luke, though.
And they're hovering it right now. Might be able to lock that in. But I kind of like the Samira pick. I'm kind of with you on that one. It just seems like more of a Team Luke style ADC. While Kai'Sa sure can dive into the back line, I actually really enjoy seeing the Samira coming in from this ADC player with what they've already drafted, the Lulu, the Alistar, to help out a little bit more for Peel. And they don't really have to worry about trying to keep this Kai'Sa alive, who's probably going to try to dive into the backline alongside this Viego.
Yeah, and now with the Ziggs gone, that's the comfort pick that a lot of bot laners have been going to for AP. So instead, we're seeing Katsuri kind of hover towards what could be the Aphelios, which would be good for
Without
playing
Thresh?
against people that go into the dive. Yeah, it's not as good without the Thresh. Obviously, those protection tools are useful for these immobile ADCs. But right now, I mean, it's just Alistar and Viego that are going to be challenging you. You have some challenge also from Kaiser if CC comes in. That's a pick right there. We love the Zoe.
And that's an RJS pick as well. Likes to play the Zoe mid lane, but it's blind at the moment. And I'm never a fan of blind Zoes. You can easily be counterpicked here by Jojopian depending on what he wants to play. I know you're kind of looking at that hover right at the moment. That would be a very spicy pick coming in from Evil Geniuses, and I would not put that past them fully. But I kind of wonder if they're going to go for. Oh, that's not what I was going to say. I was going to say Syndra. I wasn't going to say that they put the Viego mid lane to be able to deal with RJS and then get Tony Top his comfort Jax.
This is a far more entertaining draft than I think we ended up where we thought. This is a lot of pressure for contracts. You got this Viego to be able to hunt down in the one-on-one the likes of Kindred, who can space him pretty easily. But now we're in like this no flash meta where Jax is thriving because he's got a bunch of mobility with the leap strike. Now has Ignite for the laning phase to play into TN as well, where TN right now has flash just to be sure that you don't go down in that early laning phase. I feel like this is really good for Jax.
Take
I don't
the Ignite with the Jax. Go for the fight.
It would be really nice, yeah. I'd be down for it very, very heavily. I also like Lulu into Zoe is one that like Lulu can win in the earlier phases because of all the poke that comes out from Glitter Lance. It takes a little bit of AP before the Zoe really gets the wave clear up and going, where you start to pound the Lulu in the laning phase and really start to out wave clear. So that gives the Lulu the ability to help out in that jungle matchup as well, get contracts going, shut out, heal the way we were talking about to make sure CLG doesn't have that early game.
But the thing is, you kind of touched on it a little bit. CLG Academy, their composition is going to have this immense wave, the ability to siege really easily, while Evil Geniuses, that is a lot of low range. Sure, they got the mobility to try to be able to deal with it, but they have to make sure that it's from the lanes that they get the snowball early on, even if they have the opportunity to maybe put Tony Top in a position to split push later on. When you dive into this first game, you can't be falling too far behind because Tony Top can only do so much.
They put a whole bunch into Mystiques as well, because right now you're looking
he's
at
got
like
Omnistone?
oh my goodness, this is Tony Top, man. Like he'll take Omnistone on any champion. I've seen him do this on Camille before it was meta. It's absolutely insane. Although they are wrapping around right now, you'll see it through the tower. That's real not good.
Get him, flash it, get him. Yeah, there you go, pull him back in. Tony Top, we're gonna go first blood for TN.
Painful. Very, very painful. Unfortunately, Tony Top, no flash, not able to get out. And a nice little pathing. I love the creativity coming out from CLG because they've got the Zoe and they know no flash is going to be there for Tony Top. So you cut off the escape angle by just putting it behind him, or if he's standing in the dry brush, you end up hitting him anyway. So it's really clear. Yeah, this is the vision. Thank you, with very much observers, because, I mean, you can't do anything. What do you do here to actually outplay something like this?
You die. That's what Tony Top realized right there as well. I love that. I am 100% there for it. Everyone knows level 1 fights, level 1 shenaniganery. That is what I'm here for. I thrive in that. As a Blitzcrank player, you know, I want to see people go for these level 1 exchanges picks. But unfortunately, I will say, there is one drawback, and that is into the split lane. RJS, starting with the Sleepy Trouble bubble, now forfeiting the lane, knowing there's no way you're going to be able to clear against Jojopian DBC already falling back, which means there might be an opportunity for Contract to be able to punish that early play coming into CLG, try to invade field early.
Yeah, what I'm looking for right now is a 2 or 3 wave. If you're looking for a 2 wave, that means that Jojopian could actually move out, put a ward down somewhere. On a 3 wave, you could roam into the river and try to look for something aggressive with contracts. Neither of those, it looks like maybe closer to what a 3 wave. I don't see the wave crashing right now, so I'm guessing it's going to be the 3rd one. Yeah, right here, it's going to end up pushing in. So this could just be early ward timing here from Jojopian if he wants to, or he just chips away at the tower, decides to pull some of that gold off if he decides to go for a turret plate. But I feel like that's just not valuable. If you're able to get your ward really far in, try to find somebody, it looks like the Raptor was already warded off the top invade that had come in. Yeah, it looks like that's the reason why this didn't make out much.
That's what I was going to say, is that it looked like that Jojopian earlier on had already placed that ward onto the Raptors just to try to see if they can get that position control. But I definitely agree. I would have really preferred to be able to get a deeper ward, try to really control where Teal is going to have to play around and having the full knowledge of this Kindred early on.
Absolutely. We're also seeing, like, Tony Top is still bullying this matchup. I've seen it so far that this Jax, even when he's down 2 levels and 4 kills, he's still finding ways to almost win 1v3 situations. I saw that it was up against Maryville back in the day when they were playing in the playoffs of what was the original, like, Proving Grounds qualifiers, or Scouting Grounds, my apologies, qualifiers. And it was insane.
Get the names right. Come on, man. I mean, it's only like they've changed it a few times, and I've done the exact same thing or something. But yeah, going back to that, I kind of actually like that point because, and look at this, Evil Geniuses are playing around Tony Top. They're already looking for this early dive on Tien. It's going to be the counter strike, make sure they get the stun to be able to juggle the aggro with the Ignite burning down. They get a kill over to Tony Top. CP too late from RJS, even with the Sleepy Trouble bubble onto JoJoPion. There's not really much you can do.
Not at all. And it's if JoJoPion is able to actually get this wave in pretty decently, you're going to deny some minions, so that's a good amount of experience. Tony Top pulled that kill, so now he has the Vamp Scepter to take this one-on-one. And again, if EG plays to this style, this is something I love from them, is when they're able to isolate their lanes in these one-on-one matchups as long as they can. Because Tony Top in this one-on-one is going to smash Tien in the long run. The same thing, if you're able to use your mid-jungle together in one piece, eventually, like, Alistar Kaisa should be able to have some pressure into Aphelios, and then things like that will occur, and then immediately you start combining once these pieces have earned their own advantages over the entirety of the map. And CLG so far haven't been able to stop anything like that from happening.
So I feel bad that I called Tien a coward. Yeah, he was hovering the flash in Champion Select. He swapped it out. I didn't even realize that. He swapped it out for the Ignite. I'm sorry, Tien. You really needed the flash there. You really needed that ability to be able to get away from Tony Top, because with the wave frozen the way it is, you're not really going to have a fun time in this top lane, even if you're able to get some of the CS. Tony Top's already got that Vampiric Scepter. You're working on what? Cloth Armor, Dark Seal with no stacks, Orange Blade. Yeah, this is going to be just Jax winning topside so heavily.
It is. I'm keeping a look. Both junglers have just gone back to full clearing back and forth. You're seeing where Keel is right now, like on Wolves heading up towards Gromp, and then you've got the path towards topside for Contracts, who's going to be a couple camps behind here for a second. Both kind of leaving away from the Dragon area that's already been spawned when both like bot lanes are just now getting reset. So we're not getting a bunch of action on bottom side, which is almost to be expected. Neither of these two tend to play around their bot sides really heavily. It's been a lot of focus up to this top side of the map. I'm curious if Keel can find an evade timer here, but this is very, very well warded, very defensed here. The ward was put down also by RJS. Maybe they're just trying to gather information in the shallow parts of this jungle. As Keel passed back towards bottom lane now, maybe looking for this dragon, as it should be a really easy push for Aphelios here.
And right now, I actually feel like Keel has to play on the bot side of the map since it is going to be the Scuttle Crab, and did not get the coin flip luck to be able to get that first stack that you desperately need. As you need these stacks early on if you want to make sure that you're going to function properly in these skirmishes, in these team fights. If you don't have at least, what is it, I think 4 stacks early on, you're putting your team at a detrimental position because you're not going to be able to have that bonus damage and range to actually fight back.
Wow. I'm actually really surprised. Like you said, yeah, I think that's exactly the same. 4 stacks makes gold efficiency. Contracts hovered this top side of the map. There was an opening here where maybe Dragon could have come through, but RJS had a lot of health just missing naturally. And so if there was like a TP from Tony Top, or if JoJoPion decided to go really aggressive, there was some legitimate threat that RJS would have gone down, and Keel decided instead of pushing for that Dragon despite having bot side push, they just didn't want to go for anything. So instead it's just going to be a free slam of this top waves from Tony Top into Tien, where he missed a fair amount of that. This Jax matchup continues to just be abused from the side of EG. And CLG has done nothing on the cross side of the map to return resources or try to pull something else, and they haven't really been able to mount much of a defense barring that level 1. So far, CLG getting the very worst end of this stick right now on the top side.
Well, Rebel, this is where I'm just wondering, what the hell can CLG even do here? It's mid lane. JoJoPion is constantly harassing RJS, with Zoe having such a difficult time into Lulu. Top lane is done. Top lane's over. Even if you ganked it a million times, Tony Top's still going to be able to 1v1 it. It doesn't matter how much gold you put into his pocket, it's not going to happen. Then the jungle matchup, Keel still needs those stacks. Keel still needs to be able to function properly. Right now, JoJoPion had to use the Wild Growth to be able to survive the Ignite that came in, and Keel would have been able to punish it, but was just not on time to be able to find the kill.
Jojopian found some really rough positioning right there in the midst of that. Wasn't able to actually get out before a fair amount of the health bar has been taken. This opens up a very large amount of the map to come through. Also, Tien has been able to pull the push against Tony Top and is matched in levels at least. I'm really surprised that there's not much in terms of going in. They don't put these wards super deep in the jungle for the Kindred. Instead, just turns back for the Rift Herald. That should be pretty free.
Okay, that's
waves. Good. Yeah, it is nice to have some information and to grab the Rift Herald to get this gold spike, maybe try to match somewhere on the map. Bottom wave is pushed out, though. It could be pushed out by Team Luke and Mystiques. I'm curious if Contracts catches onto this and turns for Dragon, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case either.
Right, could he even? They don't even have Mystiques there. He's just recalling now. They had already called up Hook. I think that this was just a really intelligent call coming in from Teal. Reading the play, hey, RJS, that was fantastic. Being able to, you were having a rough time in lane, getting all that damage onto Jojopian and forcing a recall. Even if he doesn't recall immediately, he's not going to be able to join in. He doesn't have the TP. Then top lane, Tien was able to get a sizable push, like we talked about, into Tony's top. All of it worked perfectly. He read the play like, why bother ganking when I can get the objective and set up a potential future play for the team?
Absolutely. You're seeing, okay, I'm curious whether or not there's any actual deploy other than like bottom lane here for Deep Luke or Team Luke, my apologies, and Mystiques to be able to try to do something on this map. Because again, EG seems completely content just leaving these lanes the way that they are, especially with Jax having such a very, very tangible advantage over top of the Gwen, if not just like a terrifying advantage over Tien right now and having this Jax and the Gwen matchup. But so far, things have been really, really lax from both teams. Neither one has taken a really big swing at anything aggressive. We're going for this bottom side Dragon, which it's been available, I think, to generate some sort of play for both sides before something else happens.
And I think that, strangely enough, this actually does favor CLG. That CLG actually want this kind of slower paced tempo in the game, kind of saves them a little bit of time to be able to get the gold necessary to stack on the heal. Because they have good scaling. They have great wave clear and great siege potential throughout the entire competition since everyone's so low range on EG. And now Tien looking for the solo kill on Tony Top. Tony Top cannot turn it around. Snip comes in to be able to get it for Tien.
Yeah, the Counter-Strike was used just seconds ago, and so the cooldown wasn't readily available for the auto-attack stacking for that Q. And once you have those auto-attacks in, it doesn't even matter if that, like, the Counter-Strike comes out a second time to try to find a stun, because you've got the Q and the ultimate for ability damage that are going to come through. So Tien, right there, finds the better because of the aggressive Counter-Strike trade that had come out from Tony Top. Really good understanding. This is why we talk up Tien a fair amount. That right there is the reason, because he finds a solo kill in a matchup that has not been good for him for the entire laning phase.
Yeah, he had been down for so long. Being able to get that kill is massive for CLG to now be able to play around. Continues to get them in this position. So now mid lane, boom, there goes the eye to pop. Get gold onto RJS, who had been struggling as well in the laning phase, but has been able to bounce back significantly similar to the top side.
Absolutely. Okay, no auto attack was going to come through. I was really worried right there. Now EG is going to be going for the Dragon on bottom side as the wave push. Look like Aphelios is just back or something like that. Yeah, complete health. Fully topped off. So at least EG is going to be able to strike back on the cross side of the map, even after losing a couple of plates in mid lane. They're down a fair amount of gold, but again, this matchup on top side is still comfortable at least, and now they've gotten themselves their first neutral.
It's just the ebb and flow, isn't it? It's just the back and forth. You get good top side for CLG. Something has to be answered on your opposition side to make it so that it's going to be a close game. You constantly see this from players. That's something I was talking about yesterday when we had the interview with Niles last week, where Niles was like, you know, it's always about what can you get after a play, even if it's a detrimental play for your side on the top half of the map. They lose Tony Top to 1v1. They lose a lot of plays mid lane. Evil Geniuses being able to get themselves that Dragon so they can at least start getting closer to the potential scaling of those Dragon points and get themselves closer to the soul.
Anytime also the EG can just skim a Dragon off or a neutral objective off without having to deal with a terrifying Zoe throwing bubbles and paddle stars at you from over a wall because of the lack of range, you gotta take every single time that you've got one. Because like Jojopian's not gonna be able to do anything to the Zoe. Team Luke, unless you get CC, isn't gonna be able to do much. You got 2-3 melee champions now and every other member who aren't gonna be able to punish the Zoe over a wall. So if you let them set up a siege behind a pit, even if you're taking an objective, you're just gonna get battered with damage. Not to mention you still have like the range of like Kindred to deal with, the ultimate, the Moonlight Vigil, and the Calibrum, all those like long range attacks that can come through from like Aphelios as well. Makes it terrifying to be inside of a pit if you're on the side of EG. So thankfully they're getting that Dragon relatively free. Future Dragons, now it's up to CLG. Can they actually get themselves in position to use these long range tools to harass EG off of these objectives in these like 2-3 Dragon area?
right now we are getting some of the items built up. Yeah, the Blade of the Rune King finally completed by Tony Top from the top lane. We're gonna make it so that if there is that potential fight between him and Tien, you probably will win. It's, you know, got this plated steel caps, got yourself that, what do they call it? Not the Leeching Leer, but I always forget this one. The one that...
Leeching Leer's right.
Is it Leeching Leer? Oh my god.
Yeah, it's
hey! Wow, big brain.
You got it right.
I'm bigger brain than I even realized. It's, the Blighting Jewel is the other one I was gonna get.
Blighting Gem, yeah.
And so, yeah, getting the Leeching Leer already completed, but not the full item. Not having the Mythic just yet, not having that Rift Maker to be able to really fight back. Going to make this top lane more difficult. And you can even see right now that Evil Geniuses are playing with the fact that they have some advantages from these pushes bot lane, from the push mid lane even. Even though Jojo Pion hasn't been able to get the Mythic, it's still Lulu. Lulu just is kind of dumb when it comes to mid lane because how free her push is with glitter lands.
Yeah, that's going to continue at least for a little while before RJS is able to get enough. The Ludens is going to start to be the mark where you can start returning waves or even pushing waves out comparative because the Glitter Lance just doesn't do the same damage without that AP that now is supplementing that Paddle Star and things of that sort. I'm a little curious. That was one push in with the Alistar. There's the play we're looking for.
Good in the flash, picking it up from RJS, looking for the Paddle Star, not going to be able to connect that. Instead, Contracts continuing to want to have that skirmish there, calling up top lane, calling up support. A good call back from CLG allows Katsuri to look for a lot of damage on Team Luke, but that was a lot to burn. Team Luke still having the killer instinct, still having the flash and heal, trying to get the damage back. They're just continuing to fight this one out. The heal's going to come through. They're going to be able to get the root with the purple gun and the flash and killer instinct. And Team Luke, he does it the 1v1 with just barely any health.
Oh my goodness, I think somewhere in there he was able to get an auto attack space that was able to cancel at least one from Katsuri, and the other big thing is Katsuri ended up burning that Moonlight Vigil on a single target Inferno, which just doesn't do the same kind of damage to a single target as it does to multiple targets, so really good stuff from Team Luke, somehow clutching that victory as the Kai'Sa against this Aphelios, and the Lonesome in the bottom side did drag out the TP, but still, you'll take that all day if you're EG.
That is something, isn't it? It's like how he was able to survive, but I think it's like you said, juggling the aggro and the vision around the brush, and now EG, the fact they are the ones with that 1v1 kill on their side, feel confident to be able to take the second Rift Herald for themselves, knowing there's not really an answer from CLG at this moment.
Played across the board, EG able to pull some of the advantages in these solo areas of the map, the way that we talked about that bottom lane pulling your own play. You had that play on top side, we had a couple of members come in, now getting the second Rift Herald of the game in their back pocket, striking back across the map, still very slow. I still think, like you said, this is still good. We're going to take another look at this where Katsuri, the step-in was what was curious for me, because Team Luke right here looked like he was actually very low health and like you would not be able to take a victory. Like this is where you're calling for the TP, not expecting to win this, because right here Team Luke looked like he was in some real dire straits.
Well, it's getting the double heal right there, and here, I think it's getting into the rush, the flash forward too from Katsuri just doesn't help enough.
Yeah, the last second also, so you break vision as Team Luke, that's one aspect of it. The ultimate is enough shielding to block 2 full auto attacks or, 1.5 auto attacks, whatever it is. And those little bits, those little tiny bits of advantage that were gained by these just fractions of a second decisions from Team Luke, that individual play right there really shown through. You see why Team Luke looks so good. I mean, last year he was on a couple, or last split, my apologies, on a couple of the or I believe it was on CLG, I can't remember. You might be able to tell
temporarily on CLG for a bit while Katsuri was waiting for his to be able to get in. But Team Luke, he then went back over to the amateur, looked good there, and here he is on Evil Geniuses. He has been this player who's been one of those pop-off players. I almost equate him in my mind as like an iBoy-esque player. Someone who can do amazing things, and when you see him pop off, it is always impressive. He's also someone that needs to make sure he's working on his positioning, because he does struggle with that occasionally.
He does, and that's why they put him on Ezreal a lot, because your positioning isn't punished nearly as badly if you're on the likes of the Ezreal or the Kai'Sa. But the Ezreal doesn't allow these same kind of aggressive plays that these ultimate game champions do. Things like the Tristana that also has the ability to reposition, things like the Kai'Sa, and things also like we said the Samira are all backbones of what he's been able to play recently. So that right there, really solid outplay, does show at least a little bit of the reason why we've seen Team Luke make that raise up to Academy after his stint in the previous split. So that's really nice to see. You saw mid tower is being aggressive. It's so low right now for the side of CLG, and breaking that is so important to get this Zoe involved in the remainder of the map.
Oh, Owies. That definitely got a heart contract, but he is going to be able to barely scrape by, and this is Zoe doing Zoe things, making me reminiscent of my old days with AP middle lane. I miss those days. Those were fun days. You could even see that Team Luke definitely having a lot of fun there as he had to be so cautious, forcing Mystique to body block a Paddle Star.
There was a lot going wrong right there for the side of EG, because not only is this like Zoe really getting into the zone with like the sword shoes, the Ludens, and also the additional AP that's coming from that needlessly large rod, but also Katsuri was sitting on red and white guns, and red and white means let's fight. That's how ADCs think when they have the Aphelios. And so immediately Team Luke and Mystiques have to turn tail and not play for that tower, even before the bubble. Probably should have been standing back, respecting the all-in that could come through from the Moonlight Vigil that Katsuri had available to themselves. So do lose the mid tower, which is tragic, because again, this allows RJS access to the remainder of the map to attack these side lanes more consistently, because you can push that mid wave up just a little bit further into Lulu, who's slowly losing this wave clear over time.
And observers, if you can hear me, if you don't mind, can you do a quick click on the heal when we have a chance after this fight? Of course, Katsuri gets himself body blocked, hunted back towards the team and the minions so that it's an easy kill going over to Contracts. And they should be able to just pump down the Rift Herald right there. There it is. Good at that. Mid lane, good old charge. Takes dirt to be able to even up. But pretty much even up the gold as well.
It is. Nice little play in the mid lane, being able to force right there onto Katsuri, who was left alone by Hooks, who was looking somewhere else. He got another charge off of the Rift Herald, which is huge as well. I don't think Team Luke even took that.
Look at the needlework. They're continuing the fight, trying to see if Teal's going to be able to get there in time. But they already had the Predator pop by Tony Top to make sure that CLG are scared away.
That they are, because you know if Keel decides to try to step in, immediately Tony Top is going to go onto that target, and the rest of the team can follow suit. It was a little bit touch and go there for a second, because again, Team Luke could take it right there.
Oh, Jojo Pion, you're just going to die. Oh, flashed over the wall. They're looking for the Paddle Star. They're looking to see if they can at least find some more targets. It's going to be Contract who eats that one this time around, and CLG continue to push forward and continue to see if they can harass EG on the way out.
The hard part of playing this lower range composition is that when you have things like the Zoe that are able to do those things, you even disrupted the back right there if you saw, because Jojo was standing next to the minion of the Ludens guy, like you said. That's the problematic part of this for EG, is when they are not in fighting shape, it's really hard to try to disengage against this much range from the rest of the team, this much movement speed, and that allows CLG now to be able to grind this aggression. They stalled these backs for so long from the side of EG after that mid lane inner tower charge from the Rift Herald, that Tien's now free to aggress against this top side. Thankfully, Tony Top, full health, able to match on the bottom side for EG.
And this is going to be the difficult scenario that CLG will have to contend with. While they have fantastic siege, they have that ability, if it's a grouped up team, to force them underneath turrets. But Tony Top does not want to be with the team. He's rarely going to want to be in that position to actually team fight. If he does, he's diving into the backline. It is Jojo Pion who just put the wild growth on him and say, Tony Top, go ham. You can do whatever you want. Other than that, Tony Top's going to want to be in these side lanes, and that is where CLG have got to find an answer to stop him from just ending the game outright.
Yeah, it's the prevention, because it's a push and pull now between the side of EG and CLG, where CLG, they want these 5-on-5. They want to pull every single member of the map away, but if Tony Top doesn't allow that, then they have ways to force in the 5-on-4 to make sure that Tony Top, whatever he's getting on the other side, isn't worth what they're going to be grabbing in the meantime, whether that's the Dragon, the Baron, whatever it is, that particular instance. And so far, Tony Top now actually outright buys that Divine Sunderer from just the Phage, which is really impressive. So now 2 full items. Going to be really hard to stop them in the side lane compared to anything else. I don't think Tien is capable. They're up to the task at the moment, at least. And that means that Tony Top now needs to be a threat that they're constantly keeping an eye on, like you said, to make sure that you're not losing 2 towers or a tower and an inhibitor, whatever it might be, in exchange for neutral. Wait. No. They're speeding through.
Oh my god, wow, there. And look at this. Look at the position from Mystique. Oh, they do peel back. They're great. Mystique's got himself caught up. Double knocks coming in. Trying to see if he can get on top of Hook. They're going to be able to burst him down. Tien trying to be able to get away with the help from the Hollow Ground, but he just can't. Tony Top's huge. He's wild growth, and they got the kill they need to. Jump back on top of Tien. They've taken 3 members of CLG out, even with the sleepy trouble bubble. It's not really going to be able to stop Evil Geniuses from going on to the objective and now being able to secure that Baron.
Really, really impressive stuff from the side of EG, where they know if they want to try to muscle their way into the river against the side of CLG, they're going to get pushed out by all this range. So instead, they force this kind of play across the map. They force a movement from the side of CLG, and that allows them to pick their fight, and they're able to find 3 kills, massive advantage. Now the Baron as well is going to be lethal, not just for the 4-man squad, but for Tony Top in that side lane. As this is the play that had come through. I'm a little curious what happened. Oh, Mystiques. He actually went backwards. I thought he was going to go forward and try to kick someone back into the team. Instead, He's able to get quite a bit of work from Tony Top. Also, this counter-strike that you'll see is when he solidifies the right win. There's no more Katsuri to kite backwards. It doesn't have that consistent DPS. Now you're just waiting on the cooldown from RJS to do a lot of damage. Again, got stuck in the wrong position. Big win for EG there inside of this game.
Huge win there, and gotta give so much props over to Mystique on his positioning. Like you said, it looked at first like he was cut out, but it is still an Alistar. He's got the unbreakable will, and he just pops that, and he's nearly unkillable if you're not able to burst him down before then. You saw how much pressure he absorbed for the team to then throw it back in the face of CLG.
That he did. Big play here, and also now in the side lane, he's been a threat for the entirety of the game. So thankfully, Tony Top's going to be able to use that Baron to very big a plum unless they put multiple resources. That's going to open up so much of this map for EG to strike against it there, especially because this mid tower, you can see how low it is from that Rift Herald charge. They're able to get minions into that tower. That's pretty much all that's going to be necessary. That's why you see the rest of EG working in this bottom quadrant here. Trying to get this trying to get this bottom quadrant secured just to make sure that they can play between bot and mid lane. They're getting both at once.
Should be able to get back towards their base, but they're getting a lot of damage on the Mystique. This is what we're talking about with Unbreakable Will. It's so difficult to be able to actually kill him. Four-man knockup comes in from Alistar. The dive into the backline on the killer. It's not going to be able to do anything. He's going to be able to kill you even with the Lantern's Fight. He does not carry. Jumps back on top.
Oh my
Gets
goodness.
more kills. Counter-strike that takes more with him. He might die on the way out, but RJS, the only surviving member of CLG, Evil Geniuses, can now take your base.
Very easily, if not able to. Oh, Jimu's going to gets the kill! What a play! Jimu's able to find the Prey Seeker.
Wow, and that's the game opened up, isn't it?
Very, very much so, because you now have mid inhibitor going down. You weren't able to push bot lane far enough. They just go for a win here. They have 10 seconds, 15 seconds on any real damage. Yeah, they probably just close this game. Impressive stuff from EG. Very decisive in that last fight. Huge four-man knockup from Mystique. Sets up Tony Top into the backline. Lets the rest of this damage go to town. I don't know. This is going to be close because there are members still respawning.
Trying to stop the team. Moves still up. Contract, he's invisible. Trying to get some damage, but they have the shield on top of him. He's finally shut down, and they got the kill returned onto Katsuri. The TV's coming in. Tony Top just wants to be able to end the damn game. He wants to be able to get the victory. You can tell, but he wants to get at least one more kill on the way out. TM taking a lot of damage. They're going to be able to get an unstoppable team. Double kill, in fact, coming in through him. Heal. He's inside of his fountain, but he's struggling to be able to fight back. Tony Top eviscerates them with the lamppost, and that is going to be game one. Picked up by Evil Genius.
What an impressive display right there from EG, all off the back of this like one play that they had made. They call for the Baron bait, they get the fight to actually come out, and they're able to snowball so quickly off the back of that one. They pull the Baron for it, they pull multiple kills worth of gold for it, they pull a couple of towers, and it's just that quick with EG. As soon as they get that advantage, they're able to capitalize on it.
And this is mad props over to Mystique and how he was able to play all of those fights perfectly. It was crucial that he was able to get a lot of those knockups. That four-man knockup, my God, and immediately followed up by a four-man counter-strike from Tony Top. That was just impressive gameplay from Evil Genius.
And really big props also to the veterancy and the decisiveness on that Baron call, because like I said, it could have gone very poorly. If you just jump into the pit, you could probably shred it with contracts on that Viego, along with multiple ADCs worth of damage with like the Kai'Sa and the Jax essentially. But instead, they go for that fight. They have two members way too far out, able to catch a couple of members off guard, find that really clean engagement that give them the advantage they need to cleanly secure the Baron, which is the most important thing. Because if you wait for them to show up, again, that poke starts to come in over top of the walls, everything like that. Instead, they wait for that counter blow, they're able to find it, and they close out the game very well.
That's what you want to see from Evil Geniuses, trying to see if they can get themselves their third 2-0. Try to make sure that they can maintain a spot for Proving Grounds. For now, we're going to toss a break. When we come back, we'll break down that game a little bit more. Stick around.